Attorney General Eric Holder back on the Hill yesterday telling the House Appropriations Committee that as soon as he found out about ATF's Operation Fast and Furious, he stopped it. He said he pounded his hand on the table. He said, I stopped it. Your reaction when you hear that?
Once again, insincere and mocking the process because, in February 4th of this year when documents were given to Senator Grassley, his number 3 in control, Lanny Brewer, was actually proposing a gun-running scheme again in Mexico City with the Attorney General of Mexico.
Yeah, and there he is before the Appropriations Committee, a pretty powerful committee. What do you think? What would you do on that committee about giving money to an Attorney General who has run the Department of Justice the way he has run it? He doesn't read the memos. He doesn't know about what's going on. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, first of all, outside of Fast and Furious, I have a stark different opinion about how he has viewed the laws of the land. From the Black Panthers to voting rights enforcement, it's pretty provocative that he's trying to destroy the Constitution.
Mm-hmm. And he's up there saying he stopped it, but we're just learning more about this case involving a suspect named Manuel Barba. Mm-hmm. Who was just sentenced for trafficking a gun that was linked to the murder of ICE agent Jaime Zapata. Now, doesn't it look like there's a pattern here developing with ATF and gun walking?
Well, it goes back to his testimony or to his speech in April of 2009 in Mexico City. He talks about an aggressive campaign in gun running. He's actually started this, and he said that he was actually doing this with Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano. And a week later, the president supports him with misutilizing facts and lying about the numbers of guns found at Mexican crime scenes. So he's the one who set the template for it.
Mm-hmm. But you hear about this case with Agent Zapata. And, are we talking about another case just like Agent Brian Terry?
Well, we've got 2 people that are dead now, Jenny, from our law enforcement aspects. And we also got over 200 Mexicans who have lost their lives. Where is the outrage here? What kind of collateral? What was said in our oversight committee was acceptable collateral? Really?
But are we talking about agents that might have been alive? If the ATF had done what they should have done, arrested these suspects involved with this gun walking sooner because they knew they were breaking the laws, they were on their radar screen. And instead, they just watched them for months.
Well, and nobody that I'm not in law enforcement, but any law enforcement person that has talked to me has said, I don't know who was thinking this thing out. They were expecting a failure. And anybody that does that and doesn't follow good protocols of keeping guns in sight, keeping them tracked, following good detective work, is failing the law and not serving the citizens that's here to protect it as well as the Constitution.
So your thoughts on, Holder, still think he's somebody who doesn't belong where he is?
He absolutely doesn't belong. We got almost 100 people now in our vote of no confidence for the Attorney General, and it'll start to grow. Mm-hmm. People back in our district in the Southwest, people across this country have lost their respect and lost their confidence in how the chief law enforcement officer is here to adjudicate and to uphold the laws that are on the books and not legislate.
What do you actually hear from your constituents back home about all of this?
They're furious. They're absolutely furious that this government and this Attorney General has allowed people to go on their own without accountability and refuses to hold people accountable. We already have the number 3 at the Justice Department caught lying, mm-hmm. And where is the respect for that? Is he been put on administrative leave? What about all the ATF agents that were involved in this that allowed this to occur? How come they're not being held accountable? All the rest of us suffer the same consequences. Let's make the bureaucrats and justice serve the same type of protocol.
Yeah, the word is accountability. And
absolutely.
With him, I don't think he knows what that means.
No, and that's why we differ so greatly, and that's why what we need to do is we need to have somebody who's respected in law enforcement that's going to uphold the laws and not egregiously put people in harm's way, which he is responsible for.
Do you see your committee moving forward on an investigation into the Jaime Zapata case?
Well, I'm sure we're going to do that. What we wanted to do is to the Inspector General has had the viewing of over 80,000 pages of documents already. We have yet to see more than 6,000, and most of those have been severely redacted and duplicative. But We need to see that. And even in the amounts that we've already seen out of the 6,000, there is some very damning information that shows that upper-level justice was very involved in this.
Yeah.
And I find it very interesting that his chief of staff, he doesn't read memos, and his chief of staff knew intricate details as of April of 2010 about movement of 1,500 guns, and he didn't know about it.
Yeah.
And the second part that is just astonishing to the American people is a law enforcement person dies, one or two of them, and you're not alarmed? Mm-hmm. You're not taking this into consideration, and agencies don't talk? Are you kidding me?
Yep, and he sits there pounding his hand saying, hey, this is just about politics. This is about threatening me with contempt of Congress.
Well, if the shoe fits, he's the one who's making it political. Comply. Give us the documents. Let's find out the truth. Let's have some transparency with the American people because that's what they deserve. And let's give these two families, as well as the families in Mexico City, some closure as to what really transpired here and happened. And let's put some checks and balances in it so that it never happens again.